Welcome back to the Results Operations Centre here in Pretoria. Thank you so much for choosing SABC and staying with us. And we will, of course, be broadcasting throughout the entire duration of the elections until those results are, of course, announced. And I imagine, will be hearing the final results being announced at around about midday on Saturday. But believe me, from the moment you open your eyes on Thursday morning, you'll already start to get a picture of how the results have gone. But remember, SABC bringing you 24-hour coverage of these elections, and we will be at most of the polling stations across the country and bring you as much information as we possibly can. Let's talk about the SABC's plan and the road to the elections and the coverage that we've done so far. We're less than 24 hours to go until all polling stations open, and how have we done so far? And that's the big question we're going to pose to my guests, and the guests that we have with us here in studio. Of course, we've got Patiswa Machopeni, who is the GE of News and Current Affairs here at the SABC, and Isak Minna, he's from SABC Digital News, and of course he's heading that up. Good to have both of you.
Good morning.
Welcome to the show. I mean, Patiswa, let's begin with, as we say, the SABC's Road to Elections 2019. It's a difficult one. It's no secret that the SABC's had budget constraints, and many had a big question mark as to how we're going to pull off the elections. How's it been?
It's been tough. There are decisions that had to be made, and we had to think about how we navigate our coverage despite the fact that we have constraints in terms of resources. So part of our thinking was informed by the fact that we had taken a citizen-centered approach and focusing more on issues that affect them. So in the way we did things, just think about the setup here. We had to think about the fact that there are things we can't do that we used to do in the past. For instance, the radio stations that we have here are 14, and it's only current affairs programming, which is long form content, than having news being read from here and headlines being read from here, because that would have included travel costs, accommodation costs, and catering costs. So we've had to think hard about how we allocate our resources that are actually limited. And for instance, the desk that we're using here, this desk is going to outlive the elections period because it's going to one of our studios, which is Studio 12. So we had to think hard about how we're managing the resources that we have. But also in terms of programming, it's not only that we were planning to do outside broadcasts in terms of radio and television. We also had to think about partnerships with other like-minded organizations. If you remember, we also had an OB that was actually hosted by the Human Rights Commission, and it was about human rights and democracy. And we had to think about that when they offered the opportunity to us to say, would you want to take this live? And that's what we did. And we actually got into a partnership to deliver that program with them. So there are other arrangements that we had to think about in terms of managing within the limited resources that we have.
Which is understandable, because it has been a difficult road for the SABC in terms of money, and it's not, an open wallet as it usually is. So working to those budgets, I don't think that people would even notice the difference, because the coverage is still there. The road to the elections has been there. There have been the town hall debates. There have been every single province getting the coverage and the due coverage that it deserves. We've been in the hotspots. We've been at the story. So nothing has been sacrificed due to these constraints. And I think that's important to note.
This is the kind of thinking we had. We're all aware of the financial constraints, but we needed more ideas than the money for us to be able to deliver what we delivered. And credit to SABC News journalists. They were excellent in terms of coming up with ideas in how we covered our elections. We produced close to 200 programs in terms of our OBs, joint TV and radio. And there are other programs within our current affairs programming on television and radio that were carried that reflected our elections coverage. And we did our best within the limited means that we had.
Yeah. So I want to talk just very quickly to you about the political pressure that you've been under, because I know that has also been one of the issues in the lead up to this. You've had complaints from various political parties saying, no, there's not enough coverage on the SABC. Why did you take this live? Why aren't you taking us live? These decisions and the pressures from political parties, how's that been?
It's been a lot. It's been vicious, but quite enlightening in terms of how parties understand how SABC works. And we've had to do a lot of explanation, but what assisted was the initial engagements that we had with political parties in the various provinces, I did 9 provinces with the assistance of the IEC, because the IEC would organize the events and then would be part of those engagements. And I went there to explain the approach that we're taking as SABC News, in line with what ICASA says and in line with what the Broadcasting Act says and in line with what the Electronic Communications Act says and our own editorial policy. So what I would present during those sessions would be, this is the approach that we are taking to elections and this is why we are doing what we're doing, and also highlight the fact that we had limited resources and therefore whatever equitable coverage that we needed to deliver was also informed by the fact that we had to make those choices in terms of the resources.
All right. Now, I want to talk gadgets, because it's like this is where you come in. This is my favorite conversation. I'm loving what we've got over here. I mean, we haven't really shown viewers the true extent of what it is that we've got here, and I'm sure that'll all come into play as soon as the elections kick off, and particularly when the results. But we really made a massive inroads into the online sector, because that's where a lot of people get their information as well. Talk to us about the online coverage for the SABC.
So what we really try to do is to make sure that SABC audience, and especially new audiences and people who prefer to just get their news on the move, that they get exposed to all this wonderful stuff that we also do on radio and TV. So if we look at, this is just a quick summary of some of the material that we have put together over time. For instance, videos of all the different debates, as an example. People could, in most cases, it was live streamed via the SABC News YouTube channel. So people could get it on the news app, on the news website, on the election website. In fact, when we look at the numbers, in many cases, more people have seen good SABC television coverage on our online services than what they've seen initially when it was broadcast on TV. This is just one of those benefits of putting things on the digital platforms, because people see it when it happens and then they can see it again and again and again.
Oh boy, and have they. This is one of those clips I think that's been seen over and over and over again, the run up to the elections, a broadcast that we had right here.
And also making sure via social media that people were informed about the exciting stuff that happened on air, but also the more important topic coverage and the extensive coverage we had about what people say, what they think. The democracy gauge programs as an example.
And that's been great, and it's so lovely to see. I'm just going to stand up because I know this is such a big screen, but I mean, the big thing I think for you as a viewer at home is to understand how to get into all of this, and I'm going to wrap this up, but it's like you're the IT guy.
Well,
how do I minimize the screen now? Now I've done something dramatic by making this so big, but nonetheless, what you do is you go to the SABC homepage. Maybe I can get one of our IT guys to come in and help us, just to minimize. So what you do is minimize the screen, go into the SABC homepage, and then you'll click on elections, and the elections is where there's full comprehensive coverage of the elections. Everything that you're seeing on air will be there, as well as the news app. Download that onto your phone.
The news app is available on both the Android Play Store and also for iOS. We provide comprehensive coverage of news and elections, and you can watch the SABC News channel. You can watch SABC News, which is currently only available on DSTV. You can watch it on the news app.
On your news app, which
you
is
can
fantastic.
also listen to all the SABC radio stations on the news app, and you get the latest news. And when we get into Wednesday night, when the results starts coming out, all the platforms will also provide results coverage.
Excellent. I still want that breaking news alert, though. It's like you and I are working about that. Patrice, for you?
About programming for tomorrow, we've started already, but we are doing something that we call SABC News Wire Wire. tomorrow.
Yeah.
We're going 24 hours, starting at 5 a.m. Ending at 5 a.m. the following day, taking a break, and then 6 a.m. again on Thursday. So basically, we're going to bring wall-to-wall coverage of the elections. And this is going to be on SABC 2, which is our dedicated news channel, and the news channel, as you know, which is on DSTV 403. But we also have breaks to SABC 3, which is going to be at 5:30. It's the update that we started yesterday, 5:30 to 6 o'clock. And then on Wednesday also, something that we haven't done, SABC 1 at 9 p.m. we are providing an update in Nguni languages. So from Wednesday, Thursday and Friday, that's what we're going to be doing for the Nguni bulletins.
Fantastic.
So this is the kind of programming that viewers should expect from us. One thing that you mentioned, and I want to talk about it, when you talk about political pressure, one of the things that gave us discomfort was when we got to see our journalists being attacked in the field. These are people who are bringing coverage to their communities, but when they get exposed to threat in terms of danger and them being hurt, it doesn't help our work as a public news service. It doesn't help our work because they then get scared to go back to those communities, but it's work that's crucial to the project of democracy in the country. And one thing that we haven't been able to do, and that we will not do at any point as SABC News, is to make political decisions in the newsroom. We can defend editorial decisions, we can defend administrative decisions because there are provisions for that, but we can't defend political decisions as a newsroom, and we have tried as hard as we could to stay away from that.
We have to leave it there. Thank you very much, both of you, for being with us here on the programme. Patiswa, as you do know, is the GE for News and Current Affairs here at the SABC, and Isak Mina talking through the digital and the online presence of the SABC and all these wonderful new apps that we've got available, and the fact that you can watch us anywhere, anytime on your phone. All right, let's go back to the Johannesburg studio.